So, new high-stakes Showmax original Empini delves into the fast-paced and very dangerous world of the private security industry. The action-packed 52-episode series removes the veil of the happenings in the life or death industry, where the worlds of the characters collide with issues of territory, secrecy, and family commitments. The production is star-studded with actors such as Charmaine Mintra, Siyabonga Twala, Nambitha, Ben-Mazwi, and Nqobile Sipamla, who join us now in studio. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Yes. Thank you. Happy to be here.
You're such a ball of energy.
I am.
It's exciting.
I really wake up like
Let's start with the character that you portray, first of all. Now, talk to me about who she is and what she exudes in this particular series.
Sure. I had to today for you and also just for my mental health wear a weave because I have been so into Ndoni Temba, you know. As you can see, she has been so exciting to delve into. She has a deeply traumatic past. She has, you know, you meet her 15 years later after something that has tragically happened in her life. So you meet someone who is extremely broken, someone with PTSD, someone who has been gaslit her whole entire life. And she's out for vengeance, and that's all I'm going to say for now. But, you know, she's so relatable in the sense of being extremely misunderstood. You know, at the end of the day, she's a young girl who's just seeking the needs that everyone wants to have and be affirmed. But what I love about her the most is she's a badass. She is the epitome of woman empowerment in a very marginalized, male-dominated industry, and she's leading the pack. So it's so good to just have a break and be girly for once, because for the past 2 months I have just been in a very dark place the whole time, fighting and just doing things that I absolutely love. And it's been fun delving into her, man. She's a dream role for me.
So just for the clarity of our viewers, what exactly is her role within the series?
Within the series, she is the lead. But you follow her journey as a protagonist of her really just finding, you know, herself, finding the vengeance that she's out for, you know, and she has a lot of, you know, pit stops and a lot of trials that happen in between. Of course, we get introduced to Masasa and that side of the world, which she also is not really in, but I'm hoping that we will get to be in the world together. And it's, I play very strongly across Siyabonga Twala, who I see as almost a mentor in the VIP security service. I work for MPS, which stands for Mkhonto Protection Services, also a very problematic word for now in the,
I was about to
where
say,
we are as a country.
You didn't go very far for inspiration, did you?
You know what?
All right, I'd like to bring in Nqobile Sipamla. You are both of you, absolute thespians. I can't call you actresses, thespians, darling. So tell me about the role that you play in Empini.
So interestingly enough, this is something very different for me. She is a humble woman who's accomplished in her own right, but lives in a rural setting and lives a much more simple life. However, she's had her difficult lessons that life would teach you. So she's not a woman scorned, but she's had a very devastating heartbreak that doesn't allow her to lose her humanity, but she's wiser. So in a sense, when the lead characters that you would see featured in the beginning of Empini, specifically Kaya, comes into her world, it's a return of an old flame and a moment of reckoning for her as a woman with something that was really huge for her in her life.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. So to give more context, could you give us a synopsis, just a brief synopsis of the actual series?
Kaya Podoza is a man with many secrets and many faces. And so he plays the game, he poker faces literally everyone. You never know where his heart really lies. You never know what truth he's actually telling and for what reasons. So I find that a lot of the characters are based around that. The dynamics and the internal conflicts created are around which secrets should remain secrets and which must come to light, because there's a poetic justice that Nambitha's character Ndoni is needing, but the secret could unravel a whole lot in terms of her world and the world that's been constructed by this Kaya Bodoza, who is a combination of many things to everyone in the story.
He's the common denominator.
He is the common denominator.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
and for
what
clarity, your role, Nambitha, is what? Your character exactly within the framework of this private security company?
The world. So she works for MPS.
She works for the company?
Yes, so she works for the company. Her late dad actually started and founded the company alongside Kaya Bodoza. So Kaya Bodoza and Bonga Themba were these two best friends and brothers for life who were comrades back in the day. I mean, they used to be a part of this group called the Young Lions. You know, they fought for freedom. They did obviously a lot of underworld things, as we know, private security.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. So what I love about the show is it has so many different facets. You know, you have very intriguing conversations that are going to come from it, you know, especially 30 years as a democracy now, the plight that we're in with elections. There's a lot of conversations that I hope will come from this that we need to talk about when it comes to politics. Then we have a comedy flair, you know, as well. And then we have action pace because it is an action film. So you get that thrill, you get the edge of your seat as well, suspense and thrill, what happens next, lots of curveballs. But in the simplistic form, you have this world of private security. Ndoni Themba is a BG1, which stands for Bodyguard 1, which is a high stake bodyguard. So think of your clients, these celebrities to politicians, your VIP clients who need the utmost protection. So that really is her 9 to 5 in this world. And Kaya Bodoza is her boss and uncle, you know, in that sense. And this is her living her father's legacy.
Oh, my goodness, the timing of it couldn't be more accurate, right?
Yeah.
So, Ms. Sipamla, what has been the highlight of your experience in the production of this project?
Exploring a brand new character, getting to work with the cast that we have, which I believe are very powerful performers, and honing in on my craft in a completely different sense. And working with Clive Morris Productions also. I've worked with them before, but this time around having a longer journey and a more substantial moment with them to explore my craft is a treat. Yeah, I'm having a lovely time.
So, ladies, I'd like to ask you about something a little bit more serious. Okay. Not that the roles you play aren't serious. I mean, they're very serious. But more seriously, the issues around protection of artists' rights in the industry, right? Very briefly, without necessarily mentioning your own personal experience, but we saw in 2014 when 16 Generations actors were fired for standing up for what is right, for what is just. Has the industry evolved since then? I'll start with you,
This is
Nambitha.
such a touch and go question. Thank you for asking because it's critically important. And I think we don't necessarily have safe platforms to discuss these things. Recently, however, you know, I think it was Don Julio hosted us and honored Dr. Jerry Mofokeng and I as icons in the television film industry. And we had this platform. It was a panel discussion. Anele Mdoda hosted it. And we had a Showmax, a representative producer as well there. And we had an EP from Tete Pictures, which never happens, right? Now we have the client, we have our bosses, production companies, and you have actors. And it was a room and a dinner table full of industry peers. And we got to really just discuss and have this open table of, listen, this is our point of view. These are our trials and tribulations. How can we be more collaborative? Because we are a team, but I don't feel I mean, I've not been in this industry that long. It's only been 8 years. But in the 8 years that I've been in, I don't feel like we are collectively a team. We have the same shared vision, but there's almost this, it's the cast versus the production, and then there's client. And at the end of the day, for me, with things like that, you know, the bargaining power is obviously a bit imbalanced, right? And as an actor, as an independent contractor, you want to manage your relationships. You want to feel safe in every single area, but you also want to have a safe experience on set and feel that you're protected. As we know, our industry is not institutionalized, right? So we already are at a back foot compared to other industries globally. We don't have your benefits, medical aids. We don't have your, we have SAGA, and we have the PP, what is it? The board that protects us?
The PMA.
The PMA. But that's as far as it goes. And, it is still a touch and go. I think more conversations need to be had where we have all the representatives who are the key players in this industry. For me, I put my head down. I just care about the work. Arrive on time, do as best as you can, pour yourself in it, and I shut off all the noise. Because for me, this is a calling. It's greater than me. It's a service. And that's honestly how I've been able to just knuckle down and shut all the noise. Of course, there are things that happen. But, I think that for me, people like Dr. Jerry are more of a safer, credible voice. We look to them to really just speak up for us.
Right.
And that's, for me, when it's really well received.
Thank you so much for your honesty, because at some point, someone has to say something.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage. And I want to come to you, Nqobile. What are your views around where we are now? I mean, all these years later, there have been issues of these draconian contracts that artists, in many cases, we sign because, A, people want jobs.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I think there's still quite a way to go. This is my truth, and this is a truth I experienced through the eyes of many other fellow performers. I think perhaps it would be wonderful if the Department of Arts and Culture could take a more proactive role in the protection of us, because at the moment we are the small fries, the producers, the actors and the crew members, fighting amongst ourselves when there is an official board around us, that could, I suppose, legitimize a lot of elements that would make the quality of life of artists so much better. So I think the conversation needs to kind of stop being effusive and just go a little bit deeper into the concerns and the necessities and the requirements for an industry such as ours to be successful, so that you're not seeing starlets there and there doing amazingly well, but of their own steam. It's kind of awkward to be supported after the fact. Whereas if you feel the support of your country, your people, as you rise up, then you're a national ambassador. And then you can hoist the flag quite proudly, because you know that you've got that home-based support thoroughly. So I really would love, and that's why I appreciate organizations such as SAGA and the PMA, because those are the platforms where we get to discuss how is my quality of life being affected by this role and by the lack of work or the lack of participation from certain platforms and institutions that actually have a role that they need to play, which is quite important.
Thank you so much, Nambitha, Nqobile, for your time. I will be binge watching Empini this week. I promise you. I love you both.
We love you. We love you. We're fangirling.